morning and welcome to the virtual services of the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the Swananoa Valley for February 28th, 2021. My name is Spence Voskew and I'm a member of the Board of Trustees. Unitarian Universalism is a welcoming religious tradition that accepts and supports all who come wherever you are on life's journey. We have no creed. Instead, we covenant to treat one another well, support individual discovery and growth, and care for the earth and all who live upon it. Our only doctrine is love. We like to say we do not have to think alike to love alike. Today at 12 noon, after a short coffee hour, we will meet virtually on Zoom to have an initial discussion on the UUA suggested 8th principle. Members and friends on our email list have received directions on how to participate. I hope you will join in. Let the service begin.
Thank you for taking the time to be with us this Sunday. I know there's other ways you could spend your Sunday, so we are ever grateful. Now, our opening words. We hallow this time together by kindling the chalice of our heritage. Our opening hymn this morning, folks, is hymn number 26. Hymn number 26, Holy, Holy, Holy. Our reading this morning is 468 in the back of the gray hymnal. And it's called We Need One Another. We need one another when we mourn and when we need to be comforted. We need one another when we are in trouble and when we are afraid. We need one another when we are in despair, when we are in temptation, and need to be recalled to our best selves. We need one another when we would accomplish some great purpose, and of course we cannot do it alone. We need one another in the hour of success, when we look for someone to share our triumphs. We need one another in the hour of defeat, when with encouragement we can get through, we might endure, and we can stand tall once again. And we need one another when we come to die and would have gentle hands prepare us for that journey. All our lives, we are in need, and others are in need of us.
of women giving birth. Oh, in it I breathe the innocence of children of the earth, of children of all earth. Far over the waters I reach my magic band. Oh, through foreign cities, to every single land, to every single land. Show my brothers and sisters my rainbow design. Oh, bind up this sorry world with hand and heart and mind, with hand and heart and mind. Oh, have I a golden thread and needle so fine? Oh, I weave a magic strand of rainbow design, of rainbow design.
This is the time in the service when we invite you to share a joy, a concern. You're not alone. It may feel like that, but you have a community. This is your community. And so let us know what's going on. Let us know how you feel. I have a concern, but it's not a deep concern. This is the second year in a row that my daughter is sick on her birthday. She turned 15 yesterday, and she's got a strep throat. Exactly 1 year ago yesterday, she had a strep throat. So what a way to spend a birthday, but she's got a long life ahead of her. So send her good energy, send her healing energy. It is much and deeply appreciated. And with that, the floor is yours.
Hi, this is Larry Perlman. I have a sorrow and a joy to share with you. The sorrow is that our good friend Jim Carillon was in a bicycle accident and he fractured a couple of vertebrae, broke a rib, lots of bruises and scrapes and cuts. And he is in Mission Hospital. The good news is that they have looked at x-rays and everything. He will not need surgery. He's transferring on Saturday morning, so by the time you hear this, he'll already be there, to Givens Estate for rehab. Not sure how long he'll be there yet. When he gets home, he will be in a back brace and recovering for several months. As far as contacting him goes, he prefers if people would just send him emails at this point, not call. There is no visiting at Givens because of the COVID restrictions. Also, please don't send him food or anything like that because he won't be able to exercise for a long time. The last thing he wants to do is eat all the stuff he loves to eat. So don't be sending him cookies or any of that sort of thing or flowers. When he gets home, maybe things will change a bit. But for now, that's the situation. He loves the fact that people want to support him, and he'd love to hear from you by email. So let's leave it at that for now. Thanks so much.
I had 2 emails this week for joys and concerns. The first is from Barbara Rogers, and she wants to express gratitude to everyone who helped put together the Tidings newsletter for UUCSV congregation. The support of so many people who contribute their time and inspiration is great. Secondly, she wishes to share a concern that her health may not be improving as much as she had hoped, and she still has the condition which makes some days constant coughing, and that washes out her energy. She's grateful that other days she feels great and can breathe just fine, but she's aware that the editing of tidings has not been shared, and she does not want that to remain on her shoulders alone. It would be great to have someone as a backup that she could easily train to do the fun job of gathering information that's mostly from others. The program on the computer may be learned in just a few hours, and then it can be done on anyone's computer at home. Part of becoming an elder, she says, is to know that she won't be around forever. Well, hopefully, Barb, you can have a partner soon. The second concern that we received is from Teresa Ballinger. She would like to light a candle this Sunday because on March 8th, she's having knee revision surgery, replacement of a replacement. This is a riskier procedure than the original, but she has been assured that it typically goes well. And we hope you have a great surgery and everything does go well, Teresa.
Thank you for sharing. For those of you who did not, no worries there, but just know that you can reach out. And we thank you for being vulnerable and sharing your joys and concerns with us. And now Susan E. Hicks will present the meditation this morning.
Good morning. Our meditation this morning was contributed anonymously to the UA's Worship Web Resource Archive and is entitled, I Am Afraid of Nearly Everything. I am afraid of nearly everything, of darkness, hunger, war, children mutilated. But most of all, I am afraid of what I might become. Reconciled to injustice, resigned to fear and despair, lulled into a life of apathy. Unchain my hope, make me strong. Stretch me toward the impossible, that I might work for what ought to be. The hungry fed, the enslaved freed, the suffering comforted, the peace accomplished. May it be so.
Thank you, Susan. And so, this is the time in the service when we invite you to share your generous gifts, your resources. And so I thank you ahead of time for your generosity. It is needed and it is very much appreciated. So thank you.
Me. every step I take, let this be my song proud, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. And let it begin with me.
Are you serious? This is the question. Are you serious? First off, I want to state that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are not saviors. I sincerely hope that we are not expecting far too much of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris if we kid ourselves into thinking that they can fix all of the damage done by ex-President Trump and the Republican Party. If they can repair the damage done to this democratic experiment. Presidents and vice presidents are flawed human beings, and they cannot rewind history. They cannot single-handedly make us better people. Only we can do that. However, they can help us to take things like our democracy, things like our social contract, things like healthcare, climate change, social justice, anti-racism efforts, things like this. They can help us take seriously once again. Democracy is hard work, and we have witnessed just how fragile it can be. Yes, Alan Watts is right when he says that we as human beings take much too seriously what the gods had made for fun. And yes, he is correct when he says that true religion turns anxiety into laughter. Yet there are things that we must take seriously, for these are serious times that we live in. Interesting times, times that are out of joint. And so we must take seriously our understanding that ideas, that actions, and words really matter. What do I mean by seriousness? It is the burden of knowing that we own our decisions, that our actions have consequences, and it is the sense of responsibility that helps us to act without being ordered to act. That what our instinct tells us, even when we are alone, that we owe a duty to others and that our behavior affects them as much as it does ourselves. That is what I mean when I say we must be serious. To be serious, however, is not to be humorless. Play refreshes the soul, but seriousness is the ability to know the difference between work and play. It is the wisdom to know when to stop laughing and when to pay attention, to weigh our words and consider our actions beyond the advice of our own impulses and egos. It is to know the difference between what is real and what is imagined. And yes, many of us use humor to get through the tough times. I know I do. Yes, but one can still have humor and take things seriously. Seriousness is the great requisite for stable democracy because it allows us to think beyond the moment and to accept the weight of duty and communal responsibility. The many other civic virtues, virtues of prudence and engagement, respect, acceptance, proceed out of seriousness. And only seriousness produces the mindset that forces us to accept the central tenet of our democracy. We are adults who are masters of our own fates instead of irresponsible and powerless children. Many people are fatalistic, and I get it. I get that. I can understand that at first glance. The world is a mess. It's all messed up. And that is one way of looking at it, but not the only way. Things are out of control, or at least they seem to be. When nothing is in our control, nothing really matters. The experience of life dwindles down to taking care of one's family, to keep one's head down, and to merely survive. But we have options if we are serious about the government, if we are serious about this planet of ours, and if we are serious about each other. Seriousness, then, is a combination of self-discipline and the golden and platinum rules, the civic reflex that allows us to step outside of ourselves and to consider whether we would think well of someone who said or did what we are considering saying or doing. You see, children must learn this at an early age, or they remain stunted narcissists into adulthood. Fairness, now, I want to be fair, and it requires me to admit that American spiral into insanity did not begin with Donald Trump. The end of the Cold War, the advent of multiple decades of prosperity for only some people, all contributed to us not being serious. Even our late night talk show host, Trump making their jobs easy for them to find humor, had a sort of, we don't have to take this seriously attitude, and we can't make this stuff up. There was always a kind of wink and a nod to the audience with their jokes. But January 6th showed us just how serious the time was. That being said, when the most serious moment of his presidency arrived, and Americans began dying by the thousands from COVID-19, Donald Trump sought refuge in the ultimate expression of not being serious. He says, I don't take any responsibility at all. And that, my friends, that attitude we simply cannot accept in our leaders. Trump never cared that he had to make real decisions that had real consequences. At every turn, all that mattered was the brief winning moment and the ratings. It was all about the emotional charge of the here and now, and it was glorious. Tomorrow was someone else's problem. In other words, let us eat and drink, for tomorrow we die. It should not, of course, have been a shock that America under Trump became a collection of overgrown adolescents who were incapable of facing adversity. When the time came for genuine seriousness, literally a matter of life and death, America was a nation of spoiled children, sullen when corrected, explosive with rage when forced to do anything that they found unpleasant, ready to lecture others on why the Constitution gave them the right to wear a surgical mask on their chin. And so this level of entitlement and the toddler-like understanding of freedom, which really meant I can do anything I want without consequences, came to a head in the January 6th attack on the Capitol. One of the most serious challenges to constitutional order in the history of this nation was led by a group of the least citizens among us. The mob was not made up of the poor and the dispossessed seeking redress of grievances. This was a narcissistic middle class of deep pockets and shallow minds who felt that life had not paid them the respect that they were due. Some of them, to be sure, were intent on serious crimes. Including kidnapping and murder. These are serious crimes. But even these would-be terrorists had a weird kind of tourist vibe about them. One of the insurrectionists, a 30-year-old ex-bartender sporting a ski mask, brought zip-tie flex handcuffs, and so did his mom. His mom accompanied him to the riot. Are you serious? Indeed, the insurrectionists were so unserious, they somehow got into their heads that they could overwhelm the Capitol, take Congress hostage, rerun the presidential election, after which apparently everyone would exchange congratulations on a job well done, retire to the hotel for a few drinks, and then fly home with wonderful memories and stories to tell. We know this because, like the narcissistic children they are, they could not stop talking to their phones and taking selfies and videos, even in the midst of a violent insurrection. Hundreds of people were arrested, and most of them were shocked and are shocked to find that an attack on the Capitol and the murder of a police officer will not be written off by the federal authorities as merely a self-actualizing day trip to Camp Sedition. So much for Blue Lives Matter. Consider this, for example, the arrogance displayed by one Jenna Ryan, a realtor from Texas who flew to Washington, D.C. on a private jet, as one does, to get to an insurrection, and who stopped in the midst of the attack to assure us all that she was, in fact, inside the Capitol and committed to victory or death, but that upon her return to Texas, everyone should know that Jenna Ryan is the person who can handle even the toughest real estate deals. The day she was arrested, the realtor patriot went on television and said that Donald Trump owed her a pardon. Are you serious? Are you serious? All of this would be laughable if it wasn't so sad. Life is indeed a comedy for those who think and a tragedy for those who feel. But when a superpower becomes an unserious nation, it becomes a dangerous nation. A giant nuclear-armed clown show is a menace to the life and liberty not only of its own people, but to the stability and the safety of the planet itself. Now, not being serious is not limited to Trump Republicans, although they seem to have embraced it most fully. It is, in fact, like COVID-19. It's a national affliction. Last summer, America experienced genuine and justified rage against racism and police brutality, and these protests were the embodiment of seriousness, an acknowledgement that one person's pain affects us all. And so Biden prevailed in the election. Whatever his other failings, for he is not perfect, he takes the job seriously. He's also a man who has experienced pain, love, tragedy, and loss. The moments that affirm to us that life is indeed serious business. He is a reminder that serious people do important things every day. Things like taking care of your children, showing up to their job, ready to work. And when he talks about problems, his empathy is real. And when he talks about policy, his commitment is genuine. Perhaps most important, President Biden shares with his pre-Trump predecessors a visible sense of gravity about the presidency. He speaks of the office with both excitement and reverence, and maybe too a bit of sadness, because he knows what's coming down the pike. He knows what's to come. No individual is the same after their first days as president. After their first day as president, the office is too big. It's too terrifying to rest lightly on anyone's shoulders. Even Trump, even Donald Trump, on his first day to the White House as president-elect, was visibly shaken, at least to me, at least for the moment. and the moment passed quickly. Biden and Harris cannot rescue us from ourselves, but they can give us an example to follow. Biden can remind us that we live in a serious, potentially dangerous time. He can talk to us like adults. They both can demand in return that we listen like adults. He can forego the false promises and grand plans, and he can level with us that he has come to Washington to put out the fires and repair the foundations of a broken democracy. Most of all, he can force us to confront the challenges ahead, the pandemic, the foreign policy dangers, the threats from within, the damage to our institutions, and the weakening of the rule of law. And he can do this with stoicism and quiet confidence. And he can do it without whining. We've had enough of whining. What we can also do as individuals is to search ourselves for what it is that we really want. I mean, what is it that you really want? What are your goals? When was the last time you even asked the question of yourself? To go back 2-3 weeks, perhaps, 3, 4, 5, 10 years. To go back and see if what you thought was really so relevant and important then is really so important and relevant now. To reflect to see if your goals are as meaningful now as they were back then. People who live seriously do this. The British philosopher and historian Thomas Carlyle reminds us that life is serious business. Biden is a serious man. Kamala Harris is a serious woman. We too can be serious people again. For one thing is certain, to live is serious business. The choice is ours. Our closing hymn this morning, on this serious morning, is hymn number 163. It's always good to remember our mother, Mother Earth. Hymn number 163, For the Earth Forever Turning. Our closing words. We, of course, extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, nor the fire of commitment. These things we keep in our hearts until we meet again. Amen Ashe, and blessed be. Have a wonderful Sunday afternoon, and we will see you at the meeting. Mask, I didn't want you to see who I was. I know you don't know who I am here.